Here you see some common choke cherries and some linden that you don't see so much about. But this is the Collin Park, and this is not from Sture Collin, but from merchant O.I. Collin. So you'll see more about the other Collin in the end of this video. Today I will enlighten your blind spots when it comes to Sukuk and gold and some AI, a little bit tiny news things that might be interesting, and some news and why they might not be so important. But let's start by taking a big deep breath under der Linde. It's of course die Linde. Entschuldigung. I remember my German grammar now and then. So Sukuk, that's a bond, but it's not haram, it's halal. So this is a bond that you can buy if you are a good Muslim or a good Christian, actually. So that's interesting. First of all, the news that I got, it was someone on Getter getting upset. Turkey is issuing 5 billion Sakk, and Sakk is the genitive of Sukuk. So that's your Arabic grammar for today. And if you don't like that, here is some Christmas in a Swedish second-hand shop that you saw before. And again, this is very Scandinavian. It's not Jewish, even though there are influences from that kind. So, what did they say on Getter? Of course, if Turkey issued this 5 billion Sakk without any riba is their version of usury. So that's interest rate, basically. So you buy these bonds, but you don't get interest on them. Why would you buy a bond that doesn't give you interest? Well, you get money, or you get rewarded. Maybe not even money, but in this case, usually you get money. So how can this be according to, well, Sharia law? It's because Sukuk, you will get interest, but that depends on what you are lending the money to. So when Turkey is taking this Sakk for investment in their oil industry, if something happened to the oil price, or that Ukrainians are blowing up their pipelines or something like that, then you will still have your Sakk, but you will get less rewarded for it. So compare this to a bond, then you will get this interest, and you will always get it. So what happens if you, for example, are terrorizing the ones that you have been bought it from, for example, a country or a company that you have bought bonds for, and then they can't pay it back, and then you own the country or the company. So that's giving everything. It makes it very possible to become an economical hitman, if you remember that extremely important and famous book, How to Endebt Nations, make them do great investments that then are not great enough to actually pay for this loan, and then you take them over and you enslave the country. So always important to remember this book I have been linking to on top of my Substack every day, A History of Central Banking and the Enslavement of Humanity, from Stephen Goodson. So this Sukuk, it's not Sukus, it's Sukuk. like you're freezing. I'm not freezing that much actually. So they would be much nicer. And they are according to Christianity. So you can compare the Christianity that says no, usury is forbidden, and then Islam, no, riba is forbidden, and the Torah also says that no, you are not allowed to charge interest rates unless you're renting money out to the golem. Then it's totally okay. So there you see the difference between what the religion says. So this kind of bonds make it more stable. So when you are buying Sukuk, then you are basically buying stocks, but without much influence. So you are part owner, so to say, and you are also invested in that the one you are lending money to, that they are doing well, not only well enough to repay your loan, but also well enough so that you can get even more part of their success. So a much better system, and I approve of that. Jesus too, of course. Gold is now over $4,000 per troy ounce. So that's a lot of money for gold, and some people are saying this means that the US dollar is down in the toilet. No, that's a part of it, of course, that the dollar is being diluted. But the main thing here is that the labor is being underpriced, and the gold is also overpriced. So you can look at year 2000. If you had an average salary, you could buy 130 ounces of gold. 130. Nowadays, if you have the average salary in USA, you can buy 16. So you could buy 130 for 1 hour or for 1 year's work. Now you can only buy 16. So that's, you're 8 times more poor. So it's obvious that this is not a bubble, but it's unfairly inflated. And you might think that this is sound money. It's not. They are using credit creation, as Richard Werner was explaining it. They can create money out of nothing, so they do, and you buy some tokens, for example, on the Tether blockchains, and then you get this token, and then you get interest rate on your token, and people who issued the money, they can buy a lot of gold, and then the gold keeps on increasing in value for PSYOP reasons. So instead of using this money to invest in something productive, they invest it in just stockpiling it, which costs money. So they take their newly printed money and they sort of anti-invest it in buying something that will cost them money, just because it has this psychological, not a real thing, psychological power over others, similar to Bitcoin. And if you have read or know the contents of the Protocol of the Learned Elders of Zion, they focused on hoarding gold, because if they have hoarded all the gold, they can control it, and they control the PSYOP and therefore people, and the gold becomes, if people buy into the PSYOP, the gold becomes way more valuable than actual work that people are doing. So work is right now undervalued, and the gold is overvalued. So in 2024, last year, it was a typical year. It's a little bit higher, but they mined 3,661 tons, so almost 4,000 tons of gold. And that is almost $500 billion. That's how much money they are spending on digging up new gold to put in big walls, and waste money on storing that gold also. So they waste $500 billion per year, and this is just to make the monetary system work. So fiat money is way cheaper way to scam people, or not scam people. That's actually possible also, to have a fiat system, as explained in a history of central banking. So this is a very expensive monetary system that is used. You are not using gold when you are doing anything, but it's part of the international banking. And of course, there's a lot of other costs, not just gold and storing gold, but also doing the transactions and stuff that are actually, useful. Of course, you are protesting all this gold that is produced. It's not stockpiled, all of it. Well, yes, almost. So 40% of the gold that is produced are used for jewelry, but that is that is also a store of value and used as currency. Not in the same way as the gold that is stacked up in city of London and on Manhattan, etc. It's still that. But industry, they do use some gold, but it's less than 10% of the production. So most of this production is just a big sacrifice to Satan to support the monetary system. That's a good explanation how the system works. You sacrifice labor and value and wealth. You sacrifice that to Satan, and Satan protects your monetary system. Satan as in the unholy narrative. And Bitcoin works exactly the same, but instead of mining gold, you are mining new blocks. And that said, Bitcoin, it also has a good thing. For example, if you really want to be sure that you have some short pieces of information, like for example a checksum that you can store and say this is something that proves that my much bigger document is genuine, so you can't falsify that original document. And that is useful, but it's not even close to worth as much as the Bitcoin mining is costing. So it's a monetary system that is built on energy sacrifice to Satan. And we need better, more efficient systems, of course. And we probably need the gold to more useful things than storing it in big vaults. So let's enlighten a blind spot about AI. There is something called Brighteon AI. And unlike Gab AI, Brighteon AI is free to use. And it's good if you want to have conspiracy facts about health and other conspiracies. And it's of course run by Brighteon. If you want to have, for example, statistics about the gold production, it's not even close to Grok. It can give me similar information, but not as up to date and not as well done. So if you just want to have, data and recent news, etc., Grok is unparalleled for that, but has better, worse sources. Of course, Brighteon is connected to the Brighteon ecosystem, like the the Health Ranger store that are selling a lot of products, and you might assume that they are not, they are biased, maybe truthful, but still biased again for that. But if you are searching for things and Grok are saying, bullshit about some facts, you can at least, or you should definitely check Brighteon AI to get counterpoints to, for example, Grok, and definitely from Gemini or ChatGPT, etc. So let's go to X. Should they suspend all the Jews that are spreading hatred? Of course not. They are disabling translations from Hebrew instead. I have a meme about that on my Substack that you should subscribe to, because it's awesome and you don't miss anything. You might miss, actually, if you subscribe to me, you might get rid of some blind spots that got enlightened. Very Jewish and proud Jew. His name is also Jewish Legend 18. He is whining, of course. His entire feed is filled with hate versus Israel. Can this be fixed, Elon Musk? And Elon Musk actually answered that they are trying to make it better, and also explain the obvious. If you engage with a lot of people who hate Israel, you will see more people that hate Israel, and the opposite. So there was one interesting answer from a Jew that is saying that this his feed is filled with whining apoplectic Jews. That is like raving angry. Apoplectic, never heard that word before. So that's his word for Zionists. And he also explained that with a video that Zionism is inherently anti-Semitic. So I say it better, only Zionists can be anti-Semitic. My statement is wrong, he is not, but my way of saying it is better because it's wrong, just like the word anti-Semitic. That's why you say only Zionists can be anti-Semitic. It's interesting though, but it's not. It's useless. Another Jew saying that Zionism is bad, that's like a leftist saying that the oligarchy is bad while their organization is funded by oligarchs. Same thing for the Jews trying to, well, give the other Jewish perspective. And you, if you are not a Jew, you can't make that argument. And if you are a Jew and you are making the argument that it's un-Jewish to do Zionism, they will not listen to you and they will threaten you and you will get into trouble. So that's a useless kind of opposition, but the simplest opposition that people are posting is simply that Israel is very evil, doing evil stuff, and they love censorship, all the Zionists, and that works best, simply, and you will scare some moderate Zionists into realizing that Netanyahu has gone way too far, and his supporters with censorship and bad behavior. But he gets this Jewish Legend 18 gets some good advice from Natsari. Natsari is explaining the obvious, that he can just block and hide every anti-Zionist on this platform. You can watch the lake while I'm blowing my nose. So this is a good advice, and of course not something that the Zionists want to do. That is apartheid, not Hafrada. You know the difference? If this Jewish Legend 18 would start to block and hide everyone that are spreading anti-Israeli propaganda, he would hide himself also. And that is getting apart and living separately from us. They don't want to do that. They want to have Hafrada, which means that they will have a safe spot and they will use that safe spot to attack everyone else. He wants to hate on everyone. He doesn't want to see his own people that are saying Israel is amazing, it's so great, and then they post the same things over and over again. And in that way, they are not adding to anything. And therefore, they are just failing. If they start doing apartheid, then the Jewish supremacy will die. So it's the church lake, as you recognize. And here we have the power plant and heating plant that they should invest in instead of building entertainment halls. Don't build expensive stuff that only cost money and entertainment. Instead, build something that's useful and lower the cost eventually for our local government. That's how you can use your knowledge about monetary systems for something that has nothing to do with it. Invest in good stuff instead of investing in stuff that costs money. Should be simple to explain to my fellow people here in Ljusdal, I think. John Mappin, so he's a Turning Point USA donor, and he's very supportive of candles. And even if you're not interested in that and more interested in what they are doing in your local village on the Philippines, it's good to remember, everyone, that you need to support good donors that are actually helping people to find the truth, etc. Maybe he's wrong, and maybe there's a lot of wrong stuff here, but it's good that Kenneth Owens is digging into this, and that might change the trajectory of politics all across the globe. Scary enough, John Cullen, so that's another John, he's lost. He has been investigating these airplanes also, but 1 month ago he stopped posting on X, and I haven't heard anyone who has found him, so that's scary. And if these Egyptian planes, they might have a very natural explanation, but everyone who is an obvious Zionist cover-upper, they are screaming loudly when these planes are brought up. So there is something with them, but it might be nothing, and there is a natural explanation. I can't think of any, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But there is a real super red flag, and that's the audits that sub-organizations to Turning Point USA, they haven't posted them to IRS. Maybe they are on their way, but they should really fix that, like Charlie Kirk wanted before they murdered him. And how they behave, Kenneth Owens explained it very simply, every one of them. In this case, it's Eyal Jacobi. You remember the brat that was crying about that he couldn't worship the Gaza Holocaust without his fellow students saying that he was evil. So that was very scary for him. He feared for his religion or something. And the Congress gave the Jews or Jewish organizations some extra billions and forbid freedom of speech, etc. To help this brat. But nowadays his account is run by some sort of organization, intelligence organization, one must assume, because it's posting too much. So this organization with that name nowadays is saying that Kenneth Owens, she has no evidence whatsoever, no evidence. Oh, wait, here is some evidence. She's doxing the plate numbers of these rental cars. So then you can go, I don't know, go and harass Heinz or whatever the ones who were renting out the cars were doing. Yeah, that's not doxing. And they seem to be scared about that information. There is a new study TikTok where I'm not uploading my stuff. Maybe I should try that just to irritate Larry Summers or his son. TikTok turns people into people with zombie brains. So these Ellisons, they might have been buying a lot of zombies, the users of TikTok. And they, of course, want to turn them into golems that they can control. But they are zombies, they are not that useful. Sorry TikTok users, but you have got your brains destroyed. But the good news is that many of these ex-TikTok users, they are on digital detox right now. This is a big thing. They are trying to save themselves from their addiction, and that's good. And of course there are a lot of people. Yeah, you have seen the festivals when I dressed up in different things from the Ljusdal Museum here. I thought it was a circus, but it was just a circus exhibition on our local museum. So it topped in Q4 1 year ago, and since then TikTok has been shrinking a little bit when it comes to monthly active users, and people are fleeing it because of Zionist censorship and because it makes their brains into zombies. So the House voted for Epstein being released. I will not talk much about it. I'm waiting for Les Wexner being arrested. Before that, it's mostly bullshit. And you can follow that if you want to waste your time before it's done. And some thing to look for, or tell people who are looking into it more closely. Look at the redactions, if there are any, or missing documents. They might not release everything, and then you know everything that's missing, that is Israeli or Jewish. That is what we see from the GFK files when the unredacted versions came. Everything that was redacted had to do with Jews and with Israel. So that's a sign. So let's have a look back. Latest report from 1541. They have spotted an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist. And he was not the first. They have been doing this for 200 years already, before 1541. This was Johannes Eck. He was a theologian Catholic, and he says that everywhere where there was a severe plague, there were some Jews poisoning the wells. So they have done that a lot, accusing Jews, that is. That they actually have done that, that's totally a conspiracy theory. And there is no evidence whatsoever of that, according to all the AIs. Maybe you can try to ask Brighteon AI, see if they have some evidence of Jews poisoning the wells that is trustworthy. But interestingly, no other peoples have been accused of this. Why not accuse your neighboring warlord? Because maybe they don't do that, poisoning the wells. Maybe it's a Jewish thing. There are some other instances, of course, but in Europe they were infamous for that. But remember, first thing to remember today is that you should remember to thank them. So a good meme, instead of blaming the Jews for the pandemic and how involved they were, I saw a meme that was thanking the Jews for all the great things that Albert Bola and the heads of CDC, etc. were doing for us during that time. So a great way to hide from censorship. People don't know if you are serious or not, and the effect is the same. Now it's time to defend Swedish beauty. So here you see a simple church fish. It's I have no idea how to say it in English. Sort of Christian gathering thing. At least it was that. But yeah, it's not as fancy as Catholicism. We just have a different sense of what is beautiful. We can agree what is ugly, but those extravagant kind of Italian styles of palaces, it's too much. It smells, it's not like Las Vegas, but it's in that direction. So you can read the Italian arguments why they think that it's more humane to have this extravagant kind of luxury kind of look. But we like things more cute, plain, and beautiful in different ways. Maybe I should shoot a little bit example from inside the museum about what I mean. But yeah, I think it's mostly about that we have a different sense of what is beautiful. But you can see it in both ways. Did you know? Jet fuel. You think that it can't melt iron. Actually, jet fuel can melt jet engines. They can. This jet fuel becomes 1,500 degrees, and that's enough to melt a jet engine. But it's not melting, it's actually working. And the technology behind it is very interesting. So I've linked to Veritasium video about that. I just liked the fact that jet fuel can definitely melt a jet engine, no problem whatsoever. And finally, some wisdom from sheep. Did you know that it's extremely important not only to say thank you to the pandemic Jews, but also to say hi, even if it's to a sheep. Very nice sheep. So it strengthens the society and helps you, helps the one you are saying hi to. And it's something that Jesus would approve of also. And finally, I got some suggestions whom to interview, and I thank you for that. But I'm most interested, first of all, someone I actually can contact and is interested in talking to me. And secondly, something that you wouldn't think I would talk to, something that is out, well, a new connection that is not obvious that we should talk to each other. And with that, let me give you some example of beauty from here. So here you see some examples of more simple, kind of rural kind of beauty that we love in Sweden. So here are 64 old men, as we call them in Swedish, gubbar. So this is made by Sturekullin, the park that you might have been in sometimes. So here are all 64 of them, the old men. I assume that's not a man, but well, suspicious. Maybe Sturekullin was pulling some sort of joke on us. And yeah, he doesn't look as an old man either. But who knows? They define as old men. Have you counted them now? So I've been voting for if we should build new halls for ice sports and other sports, 2 of them, and I talked about that today's video.